What's going on, guys? Welcome back for another one. And today we're talking about the reality of starting a business from zero, some of the complications that you can have with it. I know sometimes, you see on social media and you talk about the reality of starting a business from zero, and people talk about all the great things that happens when you start a business from zero. We see all the success stories and things like that. But I'm going to give you both sides of that perspective right here. So without further ado, let's get into it. My name is Ahmad. As I am Candle Co. CEO, founder, all of that. I've been doing candles now about 5 or 6 years. And before that, I've done other side hustles before that. So I just want to talk about the experience, from my experience, realistic experience, about what it's like starting from zero and the reality of the situation. So let's do that. So the first thing is, I used to think about this concept, the starving artist. And I know people used to talk about it on social media, like, oh man, the starving artist, like it's like the Basquiat thing, like you're homeless to stardom. And so with this concept of starving artists, it was like something that was promoted. Like if you're not a starving artist, you don't have that, like you didn't really get it out the mud, until one day I had a friend that told me, and she was like, that is a dumb concept. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, well, why is that a dumb concept? Because she was like, you don't have to, respecting, you can still get it out the mud and not have to start from absolutely nothing. You can still build something of quality and not have to start from nothing. So like I said, I kind of want to give multiple perspectives of that. And so let's get into it. So the first thing is, building from zero is hard, but you have to do it simple. Like if you're going to be a person that's going to make it from absolutely nothing, and when I mean nothing, like it doesn't mean that eventually you won't need to put money from it. But if you want to start at zero today, knowing that it's hard, but you have to make it simple. You have to simplify the process, which means that you're probably going to have to do something bare bones. You're not going to be able to have the lights, the audio. You're just going to have to create. You're going to have to be in that, resourcefulness phase. As a person, I've started there, even with a music blog and things like that. I've started from just having nothing, having resources. And that's what it's going to be. It's going to be bare bones, and it's probably going to be bare bones for a while, unless you're really good at editing or, color grade and different things like that. You're going to have to start with the basics. Second thing is that this is going to have to be a sprint. And what I mean by a sprint is that you're pretty much going to have to sell. You don't have anything to sell for you. So you're going to have to create something that's going to sell for you. You're going to have to be resourceful. I know when I was in college, I had this business idea called Munchie Packs. And Munchie Packs is pretty much just like, snack delivery service, Uber Eats, whatever, whatever. But it's really me just delivering snacks from my dorm or my apartment. And people like the idea, and I created it from, zero, but I understood that I needed to have some kind of capital to do it. But with being a college student, you don't have so much capital. So I had to use like food stamps and my student loan to kind of get boxes and flyers and different things like that. Um, and it did what it was supposed to do, but I do think that had I had more capital, or I would have worked, a part-time job and did that, things could have went a lot better. But the biggest thing that you're going to have to do if you're starting from zero is you're going to have to sell it yourself. You're going to have to put the groundwork in. There is no other way around it. Or you have to be able to create an amazing product that does the work for you. So the third thing is understanding that the starving artist method is not always a badge. Sometimes it's constraint. And what I mean by that is understanding that being a starving artist is not always the great thing that it, is made out to be. It doesn't mean that you're not still successful if you have money put in. It doesn't mean that it's not still a great idea if you have other resources to do it. It makes it more of a whole idea. It doesn't mean that you can't start from zero, but it's about being efficient and understanding what it is. Another thing about that is understanding that having some capital is important, because when sales slow down or when you want to expand, if you don't have capital, it is hard to do. And what I mean by that is it doesn't mean that you have to have thousands of dollars, especially now in today. Sometimes 250, 500, or even $1,000 can really help you, even if you don't have $1,000. Sometimes 250 or 500 bucks, and being resourceful can really get you going. Especially if you have like e-products and stuff like that. Only thing you might need to do is like create a template, which you can buy online, or you can have AI create you, or you might need some money to do ads or something like that. But having some kind of capital does open you up to the point where if you have a slow month, or you're not doing what you would like to do, or as business usually would do, you are okay. And here's a bonus when talking about starting from zero. You don't always need a loan. You don't always need an investor. You just need a plan. And this can be twofold. For people who have never done anything before, having a plan is going to be critical for you. It doesn't necessarily mean that your plan has to be end all be all. It doesn't mean that it has to be a great plan, but you have to have something to start from. If you're a person that has never done whatever you're doing before, has never started a business or side hustle or anything, understand that your plan is like a rough draft, of a paper. It's not the final form. It won't be the final form. You just need to get started. Your plan probably won't even get the greatest, won't even be the greatest. So start from where you are. Even if you're starting from zero, use your resources, bootstrap. If you have some capital helps to go a long way because it opens you up and allows you to have resources that you might not usually have. But if you do not have the resources, if you absolutely do not have the capital and you're starting from zero, you are going to have to put in the work. And you have to ask yourself, is that something your team or you are willing to do? If you are, then either way, you'll be okay. But understanding, should I have some capital? Should I not have a capital? Where I start from today. This is the best advice I can give you from my experience. I hope this helps. Till next time, peace.